Hello pals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and in today's video we're going to be tier ranking all of the romance books that I've read. Disclaimer, this is not every single romance book that I've read because that would just take me way too long. If it's a series that's like an interconnected standalone, we just put the first book in the series and I'm going to be judging it as a whole, as the series that I've read so far as a whole. So with that being said, we're going to jump into ranking these 53 books that I have here, and I'm going to be trying to explain them in the shortest amount of time possible because me and this tier maker website have been at odds. It has been like refreshing randomly and losing everything that I've done so far. So I'm really loving that. It's going really great. We're going to start this and I'm going to, like I said, be pretty quick with it because normally I just like go on for way too long like right now. We have 4 categories here. The first one being feral, which is the top category because if this book made me feel that type of way, it's gonna be like one of my top tier books that I recommend to like everybody and that I may also reread. The second one is exactly, because that would be two bitches always with each other going exactly. So that book is exactly what I needed. It is exactly what I wanted. It is exactly what I was looking for at the time. Not like my changed my life type of romance, but solid. And then there's Oh Brother. And those would be the books that are not really reinventing the wheel. These are the books that were okay, I enjoyed them enough, just didn't really speak to me, and I probably don't recommend to anybody, but if you love them, you love them. Last would be Lobotomy. Those are the books that I want gone from my brain. I want them to be out of my memory. I don't want to remember anything about them. So with that being said, let's get started. I'm not going in any particular order. This is just the order that it loaded it in. I don't want to go exactly in chronological order because I might be a little biased towards the books that I've read most recently. So we'll just start anywhere here. We'll start with Morbidly Yours by Ivy Fairbanks. This book is about a girl who moves from America to Scotland, and she does indeed move next to a mortuary in which the guy next door happens to be very brooding. I'm putting it straight into feral because I did not expect this book. It came out of nowhere. It is not really talked about a lot on BookTok. I don't see anyone really talk about it really, and I absolutely loved it. Next up we have Twisted Love. This is the Twisted Love series by Anna Huang. This book series as a whole is going to go into exactly because I did enjoy it. It is about 4 friends, 4 different interconnected standalones. It's a really good starting off point for me for spicier books because that is one of the first books that I read that actually had some schmut in it, and it was good. It was fun. Next up, Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. That's going into exactly. Because while I cannot exactly remember anything about the characters or the plot, I do know that it was Ali Hazelwood and therefore I loved it. I am an Ali Hazelwood apologist and Ali Hazelwood stan. So those books by her are mostly always going to be higher up because they are the perfect concoction of a rom-com. They have just enough cringy behavior from the protagonist and enough yearning from the male side that it always eats to me. Always eats to me. Next up, we'll do Funny Story by Emily Henry. That's gonna go in the front of exactly. I picked up this book because people told me that the main male character was giving Nick from New Girl vibes. He did. If Nick from New Girl was more socially acclimated than the one in the show is, but I loved this book. It was so much fun. It's my first ever Emily Henry book, and I have like 3 other of her books upstairs that I just haven't gotten around to yet. I'm waiting for the summer because I feel like summertime reads to me, and I really enjoyed it. My friend who read it right after me, she enjoyed it too. I'll insert the picture of her being shook at a certain scene that was happening in the book, but loved Funny Story by Emily Henry. Next, we'll do Psyche and Eros. This book is a more literary fiction take on a romance book. It is a Greek mythology retelling of Psyche and Eros, and I wanted it. It was exactly what I needed. It is not quite a rom-com. There isn't really a lot of com in it because it's like a mythology retelling, so it's like kind of more morally thematic like a literary fiction book normally reads. It is not in the same, I would say, sphere as these other romance books, but it was very romantic and it was like a harrowing love story and I really enjoyed it. Next, we have Summer in the City by Aster. That's going to go into exactly, which I guess a lot of these books are going into that category that I'm picking, but it doesn't come out until March 25th, which is my birthday. So it's exactly coming out on the right day, on the best day, my B-day. And I got it as an ARC. I finished it last week. Really, really enjoyed it. It's kind of like a rivals or like reluctant friends to lovers forced proximity in New York City, which is so fun because I love New York, and it gave me the summertime vibes that I'm missing in this cruel, damp, cold world that I'm living in right now. So Summer in the City, be on the lookout for that to come out next month. Let's go with one that I hated. Let's do Pucking Around. I Want a Lobotomy, because this book, why was the audiobook of this like 24 hours long? That's not even an exaggeration. I think that it was definitely over 20 hours. And I listened to 10 hours of this book before I DNF'd it. And that was my fault. That was my fault for not like quitting while I was ahead. And ahead, I mean the less amount of reading it, because I hated this book. I hated everything about it. I hated the story. I hated the main girl in it. It was just like so annoying. I hated her character and everything that happened around her. I mean, like this like reverse harem that they were in. It felt like the most unnatural thing in the world to me. It just like did not make sense. It made no sense to me how this came to be. The very beginning of it had me hooked. Like the beginning of Pucking Around is actually like a written after prequel that they inserted into the front of the book now. That was good. It was hot. It was spicy and I loved it. And then everything to follow after that was just like too much. Like too much, and they acted like children and I just really did not like the way that they acted. So I DNF'd that at 10 hours, which was not even halfway through the book. Crazy. Next, we'll go with Merry Kismet. This was like one of the first Christmassy books that I ever read. I got it as an ARC through NetGalley, an advanced reader copy, and it was okay. I might have given it 4 stars at the time. It's been like over a year and a half since I read this book, and I do not stand on that business. I do not believe it was that many stars. I would say at this point like 2.5, 3. I have not thought about this book since the day that I read it. I actually forgot that I read it. It's a closed door romance, and that's not why I'm ranking it low, because there are some other books on here that are like fade to black romance that I did not rank this lowly, but wait, lowly is a word. Stupid. It was just okay. It was just okay. I think it was a second chance romance and it was fine. Next we have Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood. I'm going to put that at the end of exactly, actually I'm going to put it in front of Love Theoretically because I know what happened in this one. So this one is I think Spotify audiobook exclusive, and it is like a novella, so it's pretty short, and it's about two people who are in the video game development sphere and they find love. They found love in this hopeless place, and I enjoyed it. It was fun, and I remember more of it than Love Theoretically, but like I said, it's Ali Hazelwood, so she's going to be up pretty high. Next, let's go with King of Wrath by Anna Huang. That's going straight into feral at the front because that's how I felt about Dante Russo. That's how I felt about Kai in the second book. That's how I felt about Dominic in the third book. Did not like King of Sloth, like the fourth book in the series. I DNF'd it, but I think it was just right book, wrong time. Like I just wasn't in the right headspace for it. I had read like a lot of romance books, I think, around this time, and so it was just like kind of getting bogged down, and the story was like taking a serious turn in which I was not enjoying it, so I did put it down. But overall, for the Kings of Sin series, I like it a lot more than the Twisted series, so straight into feral. Next, let's go with Just Some Stupid Love Story. This one was a second chance romance, and I'm gonna put it in Oh Brother just because was not the best written, was not my favorite. I mean, I didn't hate it. I liked it more than Merry Kismet, so I'm gonna move it up one spot, but it just did not reinvent the wheel. I would not really suggest it to people unless you're just looking for a really simple romance, which is what that was. It was like two people that dated maybe in high school, then they go, I think, to their 10-year reunion and they're like, oh my God, we're both single. Maybe we should. So it was okay though, not my fave. Next up, we have Where the Darkness Goes by Kiersten, Modglin. And let me tell you, this may not be an appropriate place for this book. It was romance thriller. It was definitely very romance heavy. Like if you took the romance out of the book didn't really make any sense. So I am categorizing it as a romance, even though it's not really a traditional romance book. I think that it was really fun. Well, fun is a hard word for a serial killer thriller book, but Where the Darkness Goes follows a girl who went back home to her small town after moving away, after she graduated high school, and she reignites a flame that she had with a former lover. Second chance romance. It had spiciness in it, and overall I would recommend it if you're looking for a little bit of a different type of romance. Keep Me by Sara Cate. This book just came out recently and I was really excited for it. I'm gonna put it actually in Oh Brother, which hurts me. It hurts me to put her that low because her other series that I have on here is one of my top smutty series that I've ever read. But Keep Me just wasn't really giving what I needed to. It was about a girl who gets into a marriage of convenience with a Scottish broody man, and he's kind of like agoraphobic, like he does not ever want to leave the house. But I just wasn't really vibing with the character. She was really cringy, and I have a hard time reading someone that cringy. Next up, Butcher and Blackbird. This is a dark comedic romedy. This is a dark rom-com, and it was really funny. Like, it was compelling, it was funny. I'm putting it into exactly because that was the exact type of dark romance that I was looking for. I've read some dark romances, well, two in particular that are on this list, that I did not really enjoy that much. Butcher and Blackbird, I enjoyed it. I think I might have given it 5 stars. I don't know if I still stand by that, but I do recommend it to a lot of people. I bought it as an audiobook because the narration of it is kind of out of this world crazy and amazing. And I let my friends log in to my Audible so that they can listen to it too. But Butcher and Blackbird, it's about 2 serial killers who are kind of like Dexter style. Like, they only kill people who have done horrible things, and they start killing together as like a competition, and they fall in love slowly over many years. Lots of yearning, very slow burn, and very much he falls first. And so it was a really fun is a hard word to describe a book about people who go around other people, but it was a fun book. Magnolia Parks. I read this last week, and all y'all bitches put it as a romance book. Y'all are lying, but since y'all are gonna lie, I'm just gonna perpetuate it because I went ahead and put it in this romance. It is definitely not a rom-com. I mean, there's like funny aspects to it, but it is not a light, fluffy rom-com book, but it was exactly what I was looking for. It made me feel something. I'm excited to read the rest of the series. I haven't read any of the rest of it yet. I have it on hold at my local library waiting for it to be returned. Hopefully the person who checked out all 5 of the Magnolia Parks books are doing okay right now, because the first book was so emotionally taxing. I do not know how you could read all 5 in a row, but good luck to you, you strong soldier. If you want like an episode of the most dramatic like reality TV show that you've ever seen about British people who are so loaded rich, I recommend Magnolia Parks. Next up, we will do let's do Mr. Fixer-Upper by Lucy Score. We're gonna lobotomize that, and A Christmas Fix, because that's a series, that's a 2 duology romance between these like siblings. Not between the siblings, they don't have a romantic relationship. Each sibling has a book about their romantic relationships, and I wish I could forget them both. I do not like Lucy Score's writing. While we're at it, where's her other book? Things We Never Got Over. That's also gonna go into lobotomy because I have found that I just do not like Lucy Score. Not her as a person. I do not like her writing. I know that these books are like always on the list. They're always on the romance list, especially Things We Never Got Over, that whole Knock 'Em Out series that she has. I only read the first book, and I think I DNF'd it part of the way through because I could not stand the main characters. I found them both to be so unlikable that I could not even get through the book. I could not root for them. I could not be hopeful for them because I just could not stand either one of them. And it's a little bit different in the Mr. Fixer-Upper and the Christmas Fix because the characters are more likable, but I just hated, like, they're so millennial cringe that everything that they did, I was like, you've got to be joking. Like, this was definitely written per the time. Like, it was not meant to be timeless, because I think one of them was written in like 2017, and girl, you could tell it was, because it had so much language in it that does not age well. Like, not like bad jokes, but just like cringy humor that just did not translate into 2024 or 2023 when I read it. Did not like either one of them. I am not going to give Lucy Score another another chance, because I'm afraid that if I read one of her newer books, even if it came out last year, it's gonna have like Gen Z slang in it, used like not correctly or in a way that is just so cringy that I cannot get over. I cannot keep talking about it. I'm sorry, Lucy Score. If you're watching, Lucy Score, if you're one of my 111 subscribers, if you're watching, I'm really sorry. You're not, but I thought I would tell you. Let's do Alone With You in the Ether. That's, I'm feral, and not even in like a smutty sexual way. This was another literary fiction romance, so it was a little bit deeper thematically, like Psyche and Eros, but it was not a mystical retelling or anything. These are about two people who have very complex and sort of tragic backstories, and they are two kind of misunderstood people who find each other in the world, and they fall in love, and they talk about the struggles with that. They talk about their struggles of being with each other and figuring out how to navigate life in a way that makes your life worth meaning, or gives meaning to your life, makes your life worth living. So it was a beautiful, beautiful romance book by Olivie Blake. I love her books. I love all of the books that she's put out that I've read, and she just knows how to write the human condition. I don't know. It's so good. Next, we have Spies Don't Fall for Their Asset. While I did not enjoy this book, so I'm going to put it in Oh Brother, because that's really how I felt reading the whole thing. It's not to the point where I would completely erase it from my memory, because it did have some redeeming qualities in that it was kind of funny. Like, the characters kind of bantered a little bit, and it was a little funny. But overall, this is about a girl who finds herself in a relationship with a spy, and she loves spy movies. She's obsessed with them. Her and her bestie watch them all the time. So when she finds herself in this relationship with this spy, she is put in danger, and they have to navigate through that. So I thought that it was okay. It was a meh type of book. Like, I would not recommend it to other people. It was also like a closed door, and the only thing that these two people dreamed about was making out with each other, which y'all are like in your 20s, like your mid to late 20s, and you're dreaming about making out with each other. Let's be so serious. Spies Don't Fall for Their Asset. Not my fave. We can do The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This is also going to go into exactly, and this was, I think, my first book that I read by her. You know, my first ever Raylo fan fiction come to life that I've ever read, and I thought it was fun. I like the characters. There are some things about Ali Hazelwood's characters that are just like, they're so quirky and they're so cutesy and they have so much fun, and it scratches an itch in my brain. I don't really know. I know that I said that Lucy Score was cringy, and that's why I couldn't read it. There are things in Ali Hazelwood's book that are cringy, but I look past those things because I love her with all of my heart. Actually, I love her so much. Ali, if you're one of my subscribers, I love you so much. Next, let's do Trouble by Lex Croucher. This was one of the first books that I read by them, and I'm gonna put it in exactly because it is a closed door romance, which I do not hate. They have to be just done very, very well. Was I surprised when the scene faded to black and I turned the page and it was a new chapter? Yes. I was a little surprised and disappointed, but overall the story was so funny and so compelling that I was okay with it. So this is about a girl who is filling in for her sister who is a nanny, and they don't know that she is not her sister when she goes to this estate to be the governess of two younger children. And the dad is a widow or widower, whatever a guy is called, and there's kind of a relationship that brews. It's an entire ensemble cast. Like, all of the people who live at this estate are so different in personality that the cast is a really funny like conglomeration, which is what I found in her other book, or in their other book, that it's a cast of characters, and I liked it. I thought it was fun. There's a lot of representation for LGBTQ plus, and very comical. Like, it was a very funny romance book, and I really enjoyed it. I had a good time when I read it. The Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm putting it towards the top of Oh Brother. It kind of teeters between Exactly and Oh Brother for me, just because while the concept is there, while there are the makings of a book that I could totally cook and I would love, it just falls a little flat for me in terms of I had no idea what the heck was even going on in this book. Like, I don't understand what the main conflict was in terms of the political aspect that was happening between these holidays. But it was fun to read, and it gave me like butterflies, and I was giddy and kicking my feet and happy for the two main characters. This is about the Prince of Christmas and the Prince of Halloween, and a love story that comes to between them. Next, we'll do The Striker by Anna Huang. This one, I could very easily put it at the front of Oh Brother, but I think I'll put it in Exactly, because while this was a needless 600-page romance book, I still really liked it, and I thought the story was fun. It's about a prima ballerina who was injured, and so she cannot do regular ballet like in production. She just teaches, and a soccer star who is rivals with her brother. So that is obviously going to create some tension and some good story building. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Wished it was about 150 pages shorter. Co-op by Tara DeWitt. This book was interesting. It was a sleeper hit for me. I went into it, I put it into Exactly, because I went into it not thinking that I was going to love it, but it was so fun. It is about a girl and a guy whose grandparents were together. Like, they were step married or whatever. And they each inherit half of this property, this like beachfront property, but they don't like each other because they dated back in high school and they had a really big falling out. So they obviously cannot stand each other, but they have to come together to like rehab and renovate this property. And they may have some lingering romance that is still in the air as they're back at this like childhood home of theirs, which is kind of weird because they're like kind of like step grandchildren. I don't know. I liked it. It's just kind of strange. Oh, battery change. Okay, we're back with some background noise, some different lighting, and different energy. It is about 6 hours later. It's funny that I left off on Burnout by Rebecca Genshak, which is a motocross ex-gymnast romance, when I had to take a break so that we could watch the opening round of Supercross East Coast. So we did just watch Supercross East Coast. My guy, Tom Bial, did finish 5th place, and that was sad for me. And my husband's guy, Ken Roxon, did finish like 21st because he got crashed into. So anyways, Burnout by Rebecca Genshak. Let's circle back. The vibes are going to be a little different because it's been a couple hours. I don't remember what the vibes were before, but I am feeling kind of tired, and I'll let you know that right now. Burnout. This is a book about a disgraced / kicked off of his team motocross rider and an Olympic gymnast who kind of work together so that he can prove that he can be part of a team after he gets into a physical, no, maybe verbal altercation with his teammate, which results in his team cutting him. So really interesting, kind of spicy situationship. Not really sure if I loved it, but it's not Oh Brother. Like, I did not feel like that when I finished. I didn't go, oh brother. Like, I was just like, I was okay with it. So that's Burnout by Rebecca Genshak. Next up, we have The Lodge by Kayla Olson. This is a book that I think it was pretty good. It's gonna go into Exactly. It is a book about a male main character who is kind of mysterious. that doesn't tell you anything. So this is a book about a girl who is a journalist who is obsessed with this band that is equivalent to like One Direction. And in this world, their band had a band member that just went missing, like dropped off the face of the earth, and not like missing, I guess, in like the police are investigating, but kind of in like a taking a break from stardom. However, has taken a break from stardom indefinitely, and no one literally knows where they went. There's no sightings of them or anything. And this girl is a journalist and she's trying to kind of get to the bottom of it. It's not really a mystery, but she gets stranded, snowed into, one would say, a snow lodge. And she does indeed have the hots for the skiing instructor. So those worlds, they cross. And love always finds a way. So The Lodge by Kate Olson, I did enjoy it. I read it over like the Christmas break and it was like the perfect wintry vibes for that. Next, Kingmakers by Sophie Lark. I'm putting this at the beginning of Oh Brother. I think I might just not be a Sophie Lark girly. A lot of her writing that I've read feels really juvenile, like not juvenile content. Like it's not like I'm reading a middle school book, but I mean like the way that the characters talk to each other feels way too young considering like this sexually explicit material that is in the books. Like it just, there's a disconnect between the way they're acting and like the words that they're actually saying and like what they're thinking in their heads. I guess maybe, well, she writes a lot of her characters like really young, like they're like 17, 18, 19, like really early 20s. And I just find maybe I'm not in the right headspace for that. Like I'm 27 years old, married, been married for like 6 years. So maybe I'm just not in the right headspace for that kind of thinking, but not my fave. So Oh Brother is kind of how I felt every time one of the characters opened their mouths. Next, we'll do Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. Of course, like I said, Ali Hazelwood, love her, my fave. She has my heart. And Check and Mate is her first YA romance book, and it was about two people who play chess and the high stakes game of love. I really liked it. I thought it was a fun book to follow along with. Obviously juvenile also, but not in the way that Kingmakers is. The characters that Ali Hazelwood writes just feel so much more like realistic in terms of the way they think and the way that they talk and the decisions they make. So I really enjoyed Check and Mate. We can go to Love Naturally. This book was one of like the first books that I ever read that was a romance book. I got it as an advanced reader copy, and it is about a small town boy ex big city girl. It's very tropey. All of the tropes are present in this book. And I know that that's like a thing with every book. Every book is full of tropes, but this one just felt like the entire thing was written around the tropes themselves. Like it didn't really have a backbone besides the tropes. And I just really honestly didn't love it. Never have thought about it since the second I put it down. Like when I saw this on my read list, I was like, what is this even about? I had to kind of refresh my memory because it's been so long and I have literally not had a single brain cell think about it since then. Next up, we'll do Broken Luck by Shannon Morse. This is actually one, I'm gonna put it in Oh Brother, but a very nice Oh Brother. I don't really feel like it quite fits up into the exactly category, but it is Oh Brother because it is a pregnancy trope, and I have found that I'm just like not really into a pregnancy trope. I feel like it's kind of a cop-out. It's kind of a way that's like forcing a relationship that didn't feel like it would normally go together. In this case, the cast was so ensemble that I felt okay, like there were redeeming qualities of the book because of the way that the cast kind of interacted, very similarly to Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, which is on here, which I'm going to put like at the end of exactly. But Broken Luck just feels like a book that to me would have been stronger without the pregnancy trope. Like I think that could have been a really compelling story without that, and it kind of used that as a crutch to hold up the entire story. And then on the flip side of that, Icebreaker, I liked the book. I liked it more than Broken Luck, and I liked the spicy scenes in it mostly is what I liked it for. But also they had really fun side characters that I liked more than the main characters. Like those side characters I wanted to follow, which I know that some of the other books in the series follow those. I just haven't read those yet. So I'm judging Icebreaker solely by Icebreaker itself and not the rest of its Maple Hills trilogy, or like series, whatever it's gonna be, because I have not read Wildfire or Daydream, but I have both of those and I am going to read those soon. The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This was such a fun magical realism romance book. It is about a girl who inherits a magical apartment from her aunt. I think it's her aunt or maybe her grandma, someone in her family. She inherits a magical apartment in which almost every other time she goes into the apartment, it will switch her back in time like 7 years. And so she starts having a relationship with a person. It's like dual timeline because we're going back and forth in time, which is just like really interesting. It was a really fun and refreshing way of telling a story. I don't normally love a dual timeline, but this dual timeline was like working in tandem because of the way that the magic system worked. So I really did enjoy that, and I thought it was a really, really fun book, and I have suggested it to other people, and I think that it's really cute. I have it. If any of my friends are watching and want to borrow it, I have it. I really liked it. It made me feel like warm and fuzzy inside. The stakes felt really low, and I kind of like that sometimes. Next up, we're going to do Royal Holiday by Jasmine Guillory. That's going to go into lobotomy. The book itself, not bad, I guess. I don't know. I hated it though. Like the story itself, not bad, but I didn't like the writing. I didn't like the love story. I was not drawn to it. I think it was something about the characters. I know that it's about an older woman. I said older, I don't know exactly how old she is, maybe like in her 50s, and she's finding love in this British holiday home. I don't know how to really explain it because it's been so long. I read it 2 Christmases ago, so it's like completely kind of lost to my memory, but I just remember feeling like I'm not connecting. Like there was a really big disconnect between me and the main girl that I just really couldn't jump over that hump. Like I really could not feel like I could relate to her in really any way at all because of the way that her thinking was. It just wasn't anything close to what I would normally think. So Royal Holiday, did not love. I think it is part of a series, but I have not read anything else by this author. Just because I'm afraid that the rest of her books would be similar to how I feel about Lucy Score and maybe kind of Sophie Lark too. Next up, we have Grimstone by Sophie Lark, and I would like to lobotomize that out of my brain. This is a book about a girl who moves into her uncle's home after he dies. This uncle, his only family were his niece and his nephew, and they move into this house and they kind of have to fix it up. And there is a neighbor who is a doctor who only comes out at night because he is allergic to the sunlight or something like that. Like kind of like vampire vibes, but I don't think that there's vampires in it. I don't know because I DNF'd it because I hated it. Was not loving it, did not like the way the characters interacted, did not like the way that the romance was kind of being portrayed. It felt really like forced. Like it was like it was trying to be a dark romance even though it wasn't a dark romance. And I think that's where I start to really back away, because if I go into something knowing it's going to be a dark romance, I have certain expectations. But if things take a turn to be a dark romance in a book that I was not expecting there to be this like level of intensity, then I really shy away from it. So that was mostly my problem with Grimstone, is that I went into it thinking that it was just going to be like a regular schmegular romance because I had read Kingmakers before that. And I did enjoy it, but didn't love it. I thought that it was going to be similar to the vibe of Kingmakers. It was not. It was like way more possessive and alpha than what I was wanting, and just really the main character guy gave me the biggest ick ever. Next we have A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett Sinclair. This is one of the books in the Persephone and Hades series by her. I've only read the first one. Did not hate it when I read it. I kind of think that I like it more now than I did when I read it, and I can appreciate it more now because it was one of the first retellings that I had ever read. I really thought that it was gonna be like regular schmegular Hades and Persephone. I didn't realize that it was gonna be set in like an urban setting, and it was one of the first retellings I ever read, so I just like really wasn't aware of how retellings worked at that time. So I think I gave it a lot of flack back when I read it, but now I think I would reread it to get it with fresh eyes, because I think I like it. I think I'd like it even more. I was on a really deep, like, Hades, Persephone, Greek retelling mystery, Greek retelling romance kick for a while, and I think I need to revisit that one. Next, Praise by Sara Cate. That's gonna go up in feral. It might not really be at the top of feral, but it is very, very high up, because this book series, I used it as a palate cleanser. Every time I start to feel like I'm going to get into a reading slump, I'm like, and now it's time to break out a Sara Cate book. Well, the Salacious Players Club series, because as we know, I did not love Keep Me that much. So Praise is the first book in the Salacious Players Club by Sara Cate, and this book series follows different owners and people affiliated with this Salacious Players Club, which is like a sex club basically. And this follows Emerson and the main girl character, I cannot remember her name right now. Anyway, so it follows them two, and it is like a forbidden love. It is her ex-boyfriend's dad. There's a really big age gap, and it's all these things that I did not think that I would like be into or like or want to read about. But this book just like really changed my brain chemistry. Like, it literally altered the way that I look at like smutty books, and I really, really love it. And every time I start to feel myself going into the depths of boredom with reading, I pull out a Salacious Players Club book. So I've read the first 3 in the series. I still have one more here at home that I can read when I start to feel myself going down, and then some of my friends have the other one, so I'll have to borrow those. But right now I've been pretty good with my reading. I'm not feeling like I'm in a slump, so I'm okay. But I always look forward to a Salacious Players Club book. Next, let's go with The Never King by Nikki St. Crow, I believe. I need that lobotomized out of my brain. I actually need that lobotomized almost probably more than Pucking. I think Pucking Around deserves to be at the beginning. And I think that I can't get that to do. I think The Never King would be right behind it, because this is a Peter Pan, Wendy Darling retelling, and it is nothing but smut. I did not realize that. I thought I was gonna I'd been reading a few retellings, like the Persephone retellings, the Psyche and Eros retellings. I thought that I was going to be getting something like that. No. This is like reverse harem smut, and like I'm okay with it. It just depends, like, or maybe I just don't like reverse harem is what I'm finding out about myself in this moment. I just do not resonate with these characters. It was like if you took the smut away, there was literally nothing left of this book. There were no plot, just smut the entire time. And I just really wasn't for it, and I really didn't love it, and I didn't really care about any of the characters. That's all I can say, really. I don't have much more to say. Hooked by Emily McIntyre. This is the first book in her Never After series, I believe. And oh brother is how I felt, because it is another, I did not mean to pick those two back to back, because this is another Peter Pan retelling, and I kind of liked it. I go back and forth about how I felt about it. There were some of the smutty scenes that were really, really good, but otherwise the book itself did not really stand up for me. I felt there was a lot of miscommunication, which I hate miscommunication trope in books. There was a lot of like, maybe I just don't like an aggro guy. Maybe that's what I'm finding, is that I just don't like a super aggressive, possessive guy, unless it's like a fantasy book where the stakes actually make sense for them to be that aggressive. Didn't love Hooked. And then I started the second book in the series, which is called Scarred, which is like a Lion King retelling. Did not like that one. I DNF'd it. So I think Oh Brother is where it will be. I know there's a lot of other books in the series, and that they're not even interconnected. Like I think that they're just like standalones, but I am wary, because if they're written similarly to that one, then I really probably don't want to read it. Next up, we have Hemlock by Kiersten Modglin. I like this one too. It's gonna go in exactly. This is very similar to Where the Darkness Goes. It is another thriller romance book. This one I probably shouldn't have even put on here, because it leans way more towards thriller. Like, you could take the romance out and it could still be a thriller book. It's about a girl who moves into a neighborhood, and there's some weird things happening at her house. Okay, we're in the final stretch here, and we're going to go just like in order now. So How to Help a Hungry Werewolf, I think is what this one is called. This was an interesting book. It was about a girl who finds out that she's kind of like has the eye for the paranormal. I don't really know what she called herself, but she's like a witch adjacent, I guess, because she can like see through the veil to the paranormal. And there's werewolves in this world, and it was fun, but I didn't like love it. I wasn't like fiending for it. It resolved way too quickly for my liking. It was funny. It was really funny. I would suggest it if you want like a funny light read, but it just didn't really scratch my itch, you know. Not for the Faint of Heart by Lex Croucher. Loved this book. I read it on an airplane, and I really did enjoy it. It's about a girl who is swept into a Robin Hood-esque retelling where she is like a healer, and she gets put in with this Robin Hood group of people, bandits, going around trying to take down the king. And it was a really fun ride. It is another ensemble. There's a lot of different cast of characters. This one is a sapphic romance, and I thought that it was written really well. It's Fade to Black also, just like Trouble by them. And I just felt like it was really well written. It was adventure. It gave me like the fall cozy vibes that I was needing back in September when I read it. And there's a bit of like magical realism to it, even though there's like no magic in it at all. It's just like actually a Robin Hood retelling, but I really did love it so much. Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. That's gonna be my favorite book that Miss Hazelwood has ever written. It is like a more erotic romance than what her other books are. It's a lot more deep, traumatic. The characters have more backstory and reasoning for the way that they are, but I think that it's her most well-written book. It was so compelling. I have told everybody that wants to read a romance book to read it. I have it loaned out to one of my friends right now. I really enjoyed Not in Love, and I loved the way that the characters just like pushed and pulled and pushed and pulled, and like no matter what they do, it's like no, they can't stay away from each other. Like the universe keeps pulling them back together. It was just so... Once my friend reads it and I get it back, I'm going to probably reread it because it was so good. It was so good that I wrote in my book. Like I took a few notes, which I don't ever annotate. I don't ever highlight or underline or anything like that, but I did write a few times in this book. That's how good it was. Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. This book I got as an ARC, and that's gonna go in exactly. This is about a famous cellist and a moving up violinist. I'm pretty sure that's what their instruments are. I cannot tell you that for sure, but it is so interesting. It is like a world that I've never seemed to peak. Like you think of like a rock star romance, but this is like the rock star cello player of the world. And like there's groupies, there's fangirls for that. It was a really interesting look into such a niche career field and into such a niche like fandom. So that was really, really interesting. And I think that the spice was very well written. Very, very well written. Savor It by Tara DeWitt. I liked this book. It's gonna go towards the end of exactly. No, I think I liked it more than what I'm remembering now. This is another big city girl meets a small town romance. She like moves to a farm. He's like the farm neighbor. He has a kid, or maybe it's like Late Bloomer by Maisie Eddings. This was another good book. This was a sapphic romance about a girl who buys a flower farm, and the girl whose family the flower farm was bought from, and them trying to save this flower farm. This is a sapphic romance, like I said. The characters are like total opposites, but they have to find a way to come together. Okay, Flawless by Elsie Silver. I don't quite want a lobotomy from it because it didn't hurt my feelings that much, but oh brother. Buckle bunnies. Buckle bunnies, that's what we're gonna do now. That's what we're gonna say. Buckle bunnies. All the damn time in that book. I wish I still had Kindle Unlimited because I had it for a 1-month free trial. And one of the books that I did indeed borrow was Flawless by Elsie Silver. Mistake. It was a mistake because I read about 70% of this book. I kept trying to push through because all y'all bitches on TikTok were telling me, oh, I love this book, I love this book series, I love this book, I love this book. You lie. And then people are like, oh, actually Flawless is not the best one in the series. Like the third one is the best one in the series. You think I'm gonna read the third book in a series? Y'all got me really messed up if you think that I'm gonna read the third book. I cannot tell myself mentally to read a book out of order. I DNF'd at the 70% mark. This is about a girl who works in like PR, and she is assigned to this rodeo guy. And if I wanted to read about country people being annoying, I would get on Facebook and just refresh my feed. Okay, Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I don't remember what happens in this book, but I do remember that I liked it. That's all I can say. Neon Gods by Katie Roberts. So this is the first book in the Dark Olympus series. So I'm going to lump them all together. I overall enjoyed the Dark Olympus series. I still have like 3 more books to go. It's a really long series. There's a lot of books in it. And I've probably read at least the first 4 or 5. I can't tell you off the top of my head. And I really, really enjoyed the first couple. And then I started to taper off a little bit on the last end of them. So I'm gonna kind of put it in this middle range. But I know that the first 2 books, they definitely were so good. And the first one is Hades and Persephone retelling. And they're actually all retellings of Greek like gods. So Hades and Persephone is the first one. The second one is Psyche and Eros. The third one is, don't ask me, don't quote me, because I cannot remember at this current time. It's 11:24 and my brain is fried. I really did, and I do enjoy the Dark Olympus series. I need to actually come back around to it. I need to add that back into like my running TBR in my brain to make it back to, because I have enjoyed the ones that I've read, except for maybe like the last, not that I didn't enjoy, I just wasn't really rocking with the same way I was rocking with the beginning. But it could also be that I was listening to all of them like in a row and I was starting to get bogged down. So maybe I should revisit that. I'm gonna make a mental note. Play Dirty. I want that lobotomized out of my brain forever. I don't want to think about it. I think I only got like 7 to 12%, maybe 8% of the way into this book. And it was taking the stupidest turns. It was written so horribly. And I cannot even tell you, like, there was so much trauma dumping that happened at the beginning. And somehow we got from this girl who was in high school and was like sexually assaulted to like a time jump, and then like a time jump backwards, and then a time jump forward. And then suddenly they're battling AI. And I'm only like 8% of the way into the book. That makes no sense. I don't know. Flirting with Disaster. I read this recently. There's some recency bias in my brain with it. Love this book by Kumar. This is a book that is like a Sweet Home Alabama retelling-ish is what people are saying. I've never seen the movie, but I've seen reviews where people call it that. And it is about a girl who has a crazy one night with her boyfriend, and after like a little short time of dating, they get married suddenly in Vegas, and they're only together for like a year, and then they part ways, but they don't actually get a divorce. So then like 6 or 7 years later, she is with someone else, and she's like, I want to marry this person that I'm with. We have to get a divorce. So she goes to where her husband is, and she tries to get him to sign the divorce papers, but a hurricane comes and they are forced to be together, and she tries to get him to sign the divorce papers, and they kind of rekindle the romance that was once lost. So if that sounds like you would like it, if you like the movie Sweet Home Alabama, which I have not seen, people say that you would like this book too, and I loved it. Throttled. This is the first book in that F1 Dirty Air maybe series by Lauren Asher. I liked this book series. I think I only read the first 3 of them, and then I was reading them back to back, and I got bogged down, kind of like what happened with the Dark Olympus series. And overall, I did like it. I have not revisited it. I think I need to maybe go back and reread the 3rd book, because I might have like skipped through it, because sometimes when I read the same thing by the same authors for books and books in a row, I start to feel like they're all the same story. So I need to revisit that series because I was enjoying it. Another series by Lauren Asher that I have on here is The Fine Print, and I can also put that in exactly. But I did read all 3 of these books in this series, and I liked all 3 of them. I think that my favorite in the series was the third book because I liked that brother the most, but that is a billionaire romance. It's about these brothers, 3 brothers, who have to do different things in order to receive their inheritance of this Disney World-esque amusement park that their grandfather started. So each brother has a different task that they are assigned in order to get their inheritance. And they all kind of revolve around, I think, getting married. So very interesting on that part. And the fine print, love that one. Lastly, Loathe You to Love You. This is the only Ali Hazelwood book, even though this is a 3-book novella collection by Ali Hazelwood. And I know, I am an Ali Hazelwood stan and apologist, but this book series was kind of mid, very meh. Did not love it as much as her other standalone books that she's had. And after reading like her more recent books that she's put out, like Not in Love, then this one just totally doesn't stand up. They're like not even on par with each other. They don't even make sense to compare side by side because they're not the same books, they're not written the same way. And there's a little bit that is like a lack of payoff because they're so short novellas. Like you don't get as involved with the characters and you don't feel like the same way that they feel because you haven't been with them as long. Here's my tier ranking. Here's my list. I'm gonna screenshot it in case my computer goes crazy. Thank you for watching. It is always amazing to me when I get onto my YouTube studio and I look at like my analytics. Like the fact that 60 people have watched my video is insane. Like, hi, thank you so much for being here. And I appreciate you more than you could ever know. If you have read any of these books, or if you've added any to your TBR because they just sound so great, or if you disagree with any of my hot takes about Lucy Score and the Pucking Around book, I'd love to know because we all have different tastes and maybe you can convince me to give them another shot. You probably can't, but you could try if you really, really want to. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Good night and goodbye.